Hey everyone, good afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you're on Earth, and welcome back to a new episode of the Oak Island Research Channel. Some interesting information for you today, I hope. And I'm still working on the Rennes le Chateau possible connections with Oak Island. You saw my last video where it seems there is Nolan's Cross identified in the Razes region. The Razes region is the region where Rennes le Chateau and Rennes-les-Bains is located. It's in the southwest of France, near the Spanish border and the Mediterranean Sea. And of course, if you've watched this video, you're pretty acquainted with what is Rennes le Chateau, I guess, the story behind that priest, the supposed treasure, etc. And the possible is, I'm not the first one to mention this, the possible connection between Rennes le Chateau and Oak Island, though it seems very little people and there's no books around studying those connections. I think we're opening doors here. Um, let's start because I found something new that is, that sentence, mind blasting. So hang on to the edge of your seat. That's going to be interesting. Here on the left, you have Rennes le Chateau village, and you see it's really a small village, only 100 fewer inhabitants. It's on the top of a rock because it used to be a castle in the Visigoth region during the Visigoth era. During the Visigoth era, the estimation is about 20,000 people were living here, and this was just the top fortifications, the top fort where people were living down in the valley as well. It used to be the capital of the Visigoths in France around the year 450 AD. Don't quote me in the message if I'm not exact on the dates, I'm sorry. Particularities of this village, you got a castle here, the Castle de Haute-Poule, which is the remaining of the original, not the original, but a medieval castle. And you have here this church where Saunière was delivering his preaches. It's the Mary Magdalena Church. Next to it here is Villa Betania, which is a house that Saunière built with nobody knows what money. It's pretty big. It's where he used to receive a lot of people, but that's an interesting feature. Over here, he had constructed a belvedere surrounded by two towers. Towers Magdalena, again, something about Magdalena and Mary, just like the church. And this is a glass tower, which is actually an orangery where you would grow oranges. And underneath this belvedere, he built a park, a garden, and there's another piece here and another piece that goes back here. And that's what we call Sauniere's domain. There is a cemetery back to the church right here. You can almost see it. And that's where Béranger Saunière originally had his tomb laid here. He was buried. And the city hall moved that tomb to this place here not long ago, less than 10 years ago. So that's what we're going to talk about, because there's some very interesting particularities about this garden that are very similar to Bill Jackson's map, believe it or not. How I came into this, I was watching a couple of videos from that gentleman Jean-Pierre Garcia, who's French. Unfortunately, he doesn't seem to speak English. And I read those two books, which are not available in English. That's why I'm here for you. Total 1,500 pages. I read that in 1 week. Extraordinary. I think he's got it. He understood what was around Rennes le Chateau, how you access it, and etc. And there's some particular study that he is the author about analysis on the garden, which we're gonna study together. I contacted Mr. Garcia, of course, and asked him for authorization to use his works and his website. And he gave it to me on February 19th. And we talked through email, a couple of exchanges. And what I'm going to reveal to you, of course, he knows now. And he's a real specialist of Rennes le Chateau. And he's also puzzled by what I'm going to show you because he doesn't understand and I don't either. I hope you guys do. Let's have a look. Just some background for people who are not deep into Oak Island and Nolan's Cross, because we're going to talk about Nolan's Cross again, which I come to believe now is an architect tool. It's not meant to find where the money pit or whatever is. It was what was used to build the geometry. So Nolan's Cross is a work belonging to Oak Island geometry. It was revealed officially in 1981 by Frederick Nolan. You can measure the dimensions with a GPS. We got them, and they are what they are on the field. But we believe, and Brian Farrow's work on this, tremendous work, tends to prove it's a geometric mathematical progression, and there's discrepancy between what the author, the designer wanted and what they did on the field. You can only be as good as your measurement tools, right? And think back in the days, what measurement tools did they have? On top of that, we know there's that talk about where shall I measure the boulders, on top of the boulder, on the side of the boulder, what side of the boulder shall I use? So those metrics, I tend now to think as a mathematical progression. Nolan's Cross is also heavily used in the resolution of Bill Jackson's coded map, and if you've been following Dot to Dot, Michael's work on his channel and mine, you know that for sure. And it also echoes the formula, which are two documents revealed in the Curse of Oak Island series. Mike and we demonstrated the existence of complementary points from our work. I mean, you believe it or not, I say we demonstrated because we did, but you might still object, this is crap. Okay, fair enough. If you're still following the channel, you probably don't. Complementary points to Nolan Cross. So there's the extension point, which is a concept that Michael demonstrated about a virtual point called the 429 extension point. There's La Hampe, which seems to be an underground mechanism able to block water from entering the vault. The set point, which is, from what we understand, a gateway to the west side of the island and finding the hole under the trapdoor and the valve, but could also be a very specific point. Michael touched this on a couple of videos of his. And set point could be a backdoor entrance. We don't know, but it seems to be a very important point because we keep on meeting it and crossing its path. And of course, the oak entrance near the oak tree. So that's complementary to the Nolan's Cross, and what's interesting is we find it in many other sources. We've got the same pattern, Nolan Cross and those points, on the Rochefoucauld Grail miniatures. Did a video about it, did a couple of videos about it, and thank again the viewers for pitching in and helping us finalizing the understanding of the Rochefoucauld Grail miniature, especially Folio 212 Versus, which reveals both the journey to Oak Island, but also the Oak Island's geometry, which is mind-blasting. We got master paintings such as the Virgin of the Rock from Da Vinci. I did a video about this, and the geometry was actually revealed by the Louvre Museum. On purpose or not, I don't know, but they showed us to us what was Virgin of the Rock's geometry, the construction of the painting, which is the geometry of Oak Island, Nolan's Cross, and those points, which is just, again, crazy. More recently, Michael demonstrated that in the Poussin's The Shepherd of Arcadia, you will also find those points. I'm going to show you pictures so you can relate to that. And finally, we got artifacts on site on the island. The pyramidal piles of stone revealed by Fred Nolan in his plan point to those points, to the specific markers. And so does the Roper survey. The drill rock do point to the oak entrance and some other points. So all this has been heavily explored in our past videos, Michael or I. Please refer to them if you want more information. Couple of illustrations. So this is from Bill Jackson's map. And after all the work we've done on it, it reveals the full Nolan Cross, the set point, the 429 extension, La Hampe, Le Chêne enter here, the oak enter here. That's what we started with, of course. The second one is the blueprint revealed by the Shepherd of Arcadia. That's more recent. Again, Michael's brilliant work. On the left, you see the understanding and the decoding of the painting itself, and on the right, the resulting picture. So let's go back. That's the resulting picture from Bill Jackson's map, and the same points appear in the Shepherd of Arcadia. Next one is the Rochefoucauld Grail miniature, which again give us the same pattern between Nolan's Cross and those points. Note that all blue lines measure 1347 pieds du roi, which is pre-1660 something measurement of classical foot, and which is also a hint given on the Bill Jackson's map. And again, it's 1347 pieds du roi. That's the distance of the blue lines. Again, check our past videos that explain thoroughly how we came up with those design and detected them in those different material. And finally, the physical markers on Oak Island, the one that we can't because they've been moved around, but some people did record them back in the days in 37 and in 74. And they also give the same pattern and the same points, at least some of them. Okay, in my last video, I demonstrated you that Nolan's Cross was part of the surrounding scenery of Rennes le Chateau and Rennes-les-Bains. But I had afterthoughts. After I published that video, I said, there's something wrong in the mathematical model. Think of it. If you got any, we know Nolan's Cross is based on 40 degrees lines here and here. So if you take an 80-degree line, you cut it into two by the bisectress here, you would automatically generate a Nolan cross, or part of it. If you do that, 80-degree angle with the bisectress here, bisector, and you take a perpendicular line, then you create a Nolan cross in any situation where you identified the intersection of the bisector and the perpendicular line as the headstone. The hit points here and there are the cone B and C, and your originating point is cone D. So I could do that, for instance, here, and I would have the same proportion of Nolan's cross on the headstone, on cone C, on cone B. And if I do it here, I'm going to reproduce again the headstone, and cone D stays the same. I'm going to have C and B. So I take any angle of 80 degrees, and I can create a Nolan cross on it. So what I told you last time was a bit of a lie, because I could have taken any 80-degree alignment. Okay, there's a church here, there's a church there, there's a church here, whatever. If I get an 80-degree, I'm creating a Nolan cross, so I can see Nolan cross anywhere on the planet. Fair enough. And I've really afterthoughts trying to sell you this in my video, because I was kind of cheating, but I didn't realize it at the time. It's only after the video I start thinking something's wrong with there. I can have any Nolan cross, and it's a beautiful mathematical property that if you get an 80-degree angle, you automatically create a Nolan's cross. So that's what makes me think more and more this is an architect's tool, that system figure. And of course, to finish Nolan's cross, you need the cone A, I think it's A here. No, A is on the other side, so that's E. And you need to have cone A right here. But you would do that by the proportion given by Brian-Farrows, because you would have this distance. Then you can calculate this too, because of the mathematical progression. So, do I back down and do I tell you I lied to you? Well, not exactly, because when we look at Google Earth, there's something specific still. Let's have a look at Google Earth. So here is the Google Earth representation of that Nolan cross in white, of course. And those angles here are 80 degrees. I take the bisector, I make a perpendicular line, and of course, automatically I find headstone, cone D, cone B, cone C, but I could have done it anywhere. So I could have traced any Nolan's cross on this 80-degree lines here, the red lines on the left by cone D. I would have, this is just one of them. There's as many Nolan cross as you want. But there's one particularity in this model that makes this Nolan cross our Nolan cross, is la hampe. As you saw, as I explained in my last video, taking the work of Simon Miles, recognizing there are natural and man-made, I forgot the word, meridians. Paris meridian is in pink, Saint-Sulpice meridian is in green. They are full north-south line, 0-degree angle. And he noticed a very specific one, not knowing my model and my work, going to La Val-Dieu here and crossing through churches and stuff with a very precise latitude, longitude, I'm not sure, of 2 degrees 18 minutes and 8 I can't read it. 2 degrees, 18 and 2, sorry. And the coincidence is that this point, which registered that meridian detected by Simon Mile, and the square, the red square boxing is diagonal of alignment of many features and sites, makes it on our model La Hampe. That is, with this Nolan cross, the one I put here, for which the intersection of the cross arm are the end of the boxes of the square, this one has got La Hampe located as a coincidence on the Lavaldieu meridian, which was the coincidence. And that would make it unique because there's only one Nolan cross that register this pattern for which La Hampe is located on the meridian. But that was not sufficient. That was not enough. That could be a coincidence. So I went back to my Google Earth for hours and I tried to understand, is La Hampe, which again for us is a way to block on the island a flow of water reaching the vault, what does such an apparatus would do in this scenery pretty far from Rennes-le-Château and Rennes-les-Bains? So what I did is I checked other alignment which are very interesting, such as when you take this red line here that goes from La Hampe to Pêche-Cardou, here it is, which is a very famous peak in the region, very easily identified and playing its role in the geometry of Rennes-le-Château as Jean-Pierre Garcia demonstrates it. You can almost see the 3D fact that this is a peak. Well, when I join that peak to La Hampe point, I not only go through Rennes-les-Bains, which is a very important place in this riddle, but I also reach Le Fauteuil du Diable, the Devil's Seat, which is referenced by Google Earth here on the left, referenced according to GPS location of people who've been walking around and visiting that place here, and I crossed right in the middle. What is that Fauteuil du Diable? I got a picture to show you. Maybe not. I'll get one with quickly for you. That's what it looks like. So it's a rock here, or maybe here. It's a rock that was carved to make a seat, and there's some inscriptions in it, etc. And when you sit on it, you sit looking at a particular angle in the scenery, and that seat, stone seat, is located right at the outskirt of Rennes-les-Bains, and it's very interesting church. So that was something that I found quite interesting, that when you connect Pic Pêche-Cardou to La Hampe, you reach that place. What else did I find? From La Hampe, here, again, this point, if you cross cone A now, what do you reach? You reach this place, which is nothing but the church, here. The church of what city are we in? The church, I think it's Custosa? Yes, Custosa's church. Very little village. So if you tie the church to La Hampe, you end up right through the cone A. That was even more interesting. Is there anything else? Let's carry on. When I cross from La Hampe, when I go La Hampe to the church of Cuisa now, right here, where I ended up, that's the church right here. You can see here the round part of the church and the alignment. So when I reach this church, the Saint John Baptist Church, by the way, famous and beloved by the Templar, where do I reach? I go through exactly the castle of Haute-Poule, the castle which is the main castle of Rennes-le-Château. That's another strange coincidence. Gonna give you one more. This one. So now when I take the bottom right corner of the box and I join the headstone, and so this is not with La Hampe anymore, but this is another very interesting alignment I found. When I go from the bottom of the box and I reach the headstone, I go through the headstone, I end up where? I end up at the church now of Esperanza. And what's particular is it confirms here in Lavaldieu the intersection of the Lavaldieu meridian found by Simon Miles, The alignment here, the crossing of the box from the church of Saint-Just et Bézu all the way to the castle of Arques. And now the meridian and this crossing a point, and my line, which goes from this bottom corner and not to the cone C, which would cross the box, but to that church in Esperanza. It crosses again La Val-Dieu, on which there was a Templar commandery, Templar site that's totally destroyed, became an abbey, and now it's a hostel. And there's a kind of a legend, or people are looking for an old Gothic church on the side, and maybe it's located here, and that's that point. But that church is in ruin and probably under some earth. And I can let you read document about the La Val-Dieu research that were done. So what I'm saying here is I've got Nolan's cross positioned that way. Could have taken any other place to position the cross arm. It would have worked, but the definition of La Hampe seems to be matching those alignments where there's something happening at this point. One of my viewers lives right next to it, next to Rennes le Chateau, on the French side of the channel, of the YouTube channel. And he already went and sent me a video about the headstone. He went into there, took his 4x4, and he hanged out around. This is all bushes, and he struggled, and there's nothing there. We didn't find no stone, no rock, no nothing. And I'm trying to have him check out La Hampe, because what's interesting in La Hampe, maybe it's also blocking an underwater flow, an underground flow of water, but also it's right next to Chateau de Bézu right here. Super famous Templar command for a couple of years, overlooking that point, like a surveying La Hampe scenery. And the little village, not even a village, it's a couple of houses here, it's called the Templar, Les Templiers in French, and the Templar, of course, translated. So maybe La Hampe is actually, there's something in there underneath that would control a flow of water, knowing that this region of France is full of underground canals, channels, and underground streams and things like that. So my conclusion on this is that Nolan cross using La Hampe and the set point is unique, and the one we found was using La Hampe, and that's unique. That's the one from Oak Island that's represented here. So I just wanted to make this come back to my previous video and explain you, though I could have designed any Nolan cross there on that geometry, there's only one for which La Hampe matches the meridian, but matches also the three other alignment I just showed you, kind of validating the fact that this is Oak Island's Nolan's cross reported on the Razes region. But I got more interesting thing. So Jean-Pierre Garcia has got an extraordinary website available, unfortunately only in French, no translation around available. You can try to use automatic website translation. You got the URL here, and it's super documented, and we're gonna have a look at it because some information in this, and I can use it with his authorization, is very interesting to us. Part of his extraordinary work, he worked on the domain of Saunière. So that's the Villa Betania, the house Saunière built, and in the background you can see the church, and that's the gardens. And this is an aerial picture from Google Earth. And what he tried to do originally is trying to find the original design of the scenery and the gardens. And he found some discrepancies between what was reported back in the days and what several sources, several layouts, etc. They did some very heavy work going to the city hall, getting the original drawings, etc. And he come up with this picture as the domain organization. So you see here the church on top with the round border. You get the Villa Betania right here, and gardens. The Belvedere is here, stairs to the Belvederes, the Magdala Tower, and the Glass Tower, and the cemetery where his tomb is right here. So that's the final design that they're pretty sure that's how the garden was organized back in the days. Another interesting fact is that, and I saw that when I was on site in 2005, I visited. First of all, Saunière loved to be taken into picture. That's him, the abbot. And there's a legend, or there's something around researchers on Rennes le Chateau, that if you see him with a white umbrella on one of those pictures, which is the case here, is kind of indicating a clue. And we'll keep that in mind, that this big circle here, which is the center fountain of the garden, is pointing his umbrella right here. We'll see that maybe it's not a coincidence. So what happened is, let me browse for you. And this is what I also found when I was on site in 2005, and I took a picture of that with my at the time smartphone, which was not that smart. In the Magdala Tower, that's the tile of the Magdala Tower. And I don't know if we can see it here, maybe not, but you can spot that one of the tile here, look at this tile on the left, the center, the circle, the black circle is made of 4 pies, which are black. And it's the same for all the tiles except this one. This one has got a red dot here. You see the red dot right here? And it's unique. It's the only one that's got a red dot that I know of. And the interesting thing, so that's a better view. You can see it's different from all the others. And it's positioned on the bottom left here of a chessboard of 64 squares. And I noted that, and I didn't know what to do with it at the time. I was researching Rennes le Chateau, but I was an amateur compared to those guys. And it's very interesting. When I saw his website, I was like, hey, I saw that too. What does he conclude? Well, he went further beyond this red dot. He said, okay, if there's one in the Magdala Tower, there may be one in the glass tower. So he goes across the Belvedere, and in the glass tower, he finds now a white dot here on the tile, but the tiles are in pretty bad shape. This has been out of the open and the rain maybe, and it's not as well conserved as it is on Magdala's tower. But he believes, he claims, he affirms that there is a white dot here that shouldn't be there. And finally, inside Villa Bethany, inside the house Saunière built, same kind of tile here, and on that one you get one with yellow, while the other ones are white, as you can see. So what it did, here it is with a big zoom, this one's wrong, it should be white. This one's wrong, it should be black, etc. And so what he did is he reported, let's go back up, maybe not this picture, the first one here. He reported on the map now those white dot here, the white dot there. It doesn't have the yellow dot on this one, but it's got another picture we're gonna study very soon. And other features, because the garden is nuts. You have a statue of Virgin Mary right here. You've got a calvaire. I'm not sure how to translate that here. You get the center of those fountains. Very interesting set points he distributed around. Let's go back to our site now. So what he came up with at the end is this pattern. So what is this pattern? He realizes that, first of all, when you take the red dot here and you take the white dot there and you trace a line, you end up exactly at the tangent of the circle with the center E, and the tangent he called the point D. Well, the tangent here, this point, is the one that Saunière was pointing with his white umbrella. Interesting. And he also saw an alignment. That's what he saw first. An alignment between the top of the stairs, which I got a picture. There's a kind of a monument here. That tangent point, the center of the circle, the tip of the garden, the other tip of the other garden, and the final tip of the garden. And he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points that were aligned. And so from this point H, he then saw there's an alignment with the yellow dot and the white dot. So he drew that line. And finally thinking, if you connected point H to this white dot, let's connect point H to the red dot. And now I've got my pattern applied. Would you believe me if I told you that this angle is 78.9 degrees? Like 80 degrees, and I've got a bar line that's crossing against, I mean the bisector is here, and I've got a cross arm at 90 degree, well, I got a Nolan cross, one way or another. It's there because of those properties. If I got an angle at 80 degree, which I almost got, and I've got a bisector, which is right here, and I cut it perpendicularly, I'm generating a Nolan cross. But like any Nolan cross, like Nolan cross you can get with just those features, 80 degree and a perpendicular line and a bisector. Not our Nolan cross, of course. Well, let's wait. So here I indicated all those points for you to understand how the geometry of the garden is built. Let's carry on. I did that too so that you can see that in this place here, you've got a calvaire. I'm not sure how to translate that in English. It's like a statue where you kneel and you cross yourself and you say a prayer. You find them on the side of the roads in France all over the place, stone ones. And here you got a statue of Virgin Mary, which is then right here. There's a cave here that Sauniere built, etc. And these are picture of it. So this is the calvaire that I can't translate. I think it's the same word in English, Calvary. This is the statue of Virgin Mary. And this is the two stairs going up to the Belvedere. As you can see, right in the middle, you got this stone feature. That's the same picture, but I got an enlargement from his website we saw. And right in the center of the garden, there's a fountain, circular, and he's pointing at the tangent point. That's the tangent point we're identified earlier with his white umbrella. Sauniere again, he's here, and he's right on that side of the Magdalena Tower, leaning almost on the 90-degree angle made by the wall. You can see a lady here, you can see a lady there. Marie Denardo, which got a role to play and was his maid, is one of them, I guess. And maybe they're indicating something, maybe. So what I did for convenience, because I'm used mentally and visually to have Nolan's cross like this, right? Because it's like that with an angle on Oak Island. I twist the picture. I turn the picture around, but it's the same picture. I just turn it around. And my first attempts, saying, okay, I got my Nolan's cross. Let's put it there. So I try to align cone C, try to align cone B, and of course the headstone falls here. But then cone A was too far away from that feature. Cone D was in between point F and G, didn't match anything. And I got cone E in the middle of nowhere. It's also not registering anything. And for a couple of days, that was 3 weeks ago I found all this. A couple of days I thought, okay, that's useless. It's not registering anything. It's wrong. What it's showing me is a Nolan cross, but not our Nolan cross. It's not the one from Oak Island. Nothing works out. And I kind of gave up for a couple of days and let my brain cool down. And then I realized I was wrong because I tried to use what Jean-Pierre Garcia was proposing me as a free present. It was all there, and it's not the one. It's the construction's right, the geometry is right, but it's not the one of Nolan's cross. If I align, I was aligning the headstone right onto this point using the arms that were preset by Jean-Pierre Garcia, and that's where I was wrong. Because if instead of using this point as a headstone, I'm using that point as a headstone, which is the center of the circle, and that took me a couple of days to realize, this is what I get then. So I've got here the headstone now I'm putting on the center of the fountain. And if I do that, I register cone A as the tangent, that famous tangent Sauniere is pointing his white umbrella as. Same proportion kept, I'm registering my extension point as the stone feature on top of the stairs. With the same proportions, I'm registering cone E as his G point. Now I got a bit more matching because I got 4 points matching on that line. And I was more interested in this because I had the feeling now it's really working with the proportionized places of the Sauniere's garden points, but it could still be a coincidence. I was frustrated because my cone C didn't register to anything. My cone B didn't register to anything. La Hampe was not registering to anything. Set point was out there in the whatever it was. I mean, that was all. I was just making small progress. And I left it for a couple of days. And I went back to his website. Let's go back to his website because I wanted more information because he studied this garden. So what it did, taking this picture as a reference and making that first alignments as we discovered together, he then, carry on, here. When I saw this, I'm like, He didn't realize that if you draw a line from the side of the church and you continue it, if you're really using the side of the church, you would reach his point A, which is the top of that stairs, that stone feature in the Belvedere. If you draw parallel lines, because all those red lines are parallel, on the outskirt of the church, the extension of the church, you reach his point D, which is the tangent that Sauniere is pointing with his white umbrella. If you do a parallel line at the garden edge, you reach point E. If you do a parallel line at the other garden edge, you reach G and J. J here being the one Sauniere is standing on the picture I showed you earlier, where he's leaning near the angle of the tower. And if you take another parallel line from the tip of the garden, that triangle, it reaches the point, the red dot at the Magdalena Tower. And what's the last one he drew? I don't understand what's the last one. It's parallel, it goes through the tip of the construction of the tower, but I don't know what he meant. Oh yeah, maybe it's tangent to that circle, I'm not sure. And I watched this, and it didn't click for a couple of days. Another couple of days later, I'm like, okay, let's do it on our model. And this is where I'd like you to hang on the edge of your seat, guys. So let's, again, just before you fall off your chair, this is the points I managed to register just by repositioning the Nolan's cross, having the headstone at the center of the circle, all right? But my other points are not identified, did not register, they just hang out in the garden. Well, I applied his technique. What I first saw is that if I use a line that goes from the center of the church, right in the middle of the church, and I push it, I reach cone B. Wow. I'm like, whoa, when I saw it. I'm like, I'm right in the middle of the church, indicated by this picture. I just draw a line, and I hit exactly cone B, which didn't register on the garden. And I'm like, wow, wait a second. I'm playing here now with something that's in the garden, representing some part of Nolan's cross. Am I playing also with something that comes from outside the garden and projects on Nolan's cross? So it was too tempting. I just used Jean-Pierre Garcia's method of parallel lines, and I drew the outsides of the church, like he did. And he reached, of course, this one reaches is point A on top of the stairs of the Belvedere, which is my 429 extension point. Okay. But this one he never drew. We'll revisit his drawing. This one he never took care of because it was not reaching any of his points. Guess what? It's exactly registering La Hampe. Wow. When I saw that, I'm like, wait. We're onto something there because those points I could not register. La Hampe, cone B, which are hanging out in the garden, are now registered by the church itself, which was built a couple of 100 years ago. Not new. It was not built by Sauniere. Sauniere built the design, or somebody suggested him, or somebody designed the garden for him. Or maybe he did it. And that the way it was done, that garden, make it that those points register Nolan's cross and continue registering with the church, the correspondency. Did Sauniere know about Nolan's cross? I don't think so. But the design, the natural design is here. But wait, it's not finished, of course. I'm carrying on with, just like Jean-Pierre Garcia, the outside of the extension of the church. And I reach my cone A, which is okay, because that's his point tangent where Sauniere had his umbrella. That's one of his points. He found it. What else do we have? The outside of the garden, it's going to the center of the fountain, which is my headstone, which is his point E. Okay, nothing new. But now, which he didn't have, he doesn't have this in his model. If I take from the Calvary, going through the statue of Mary, going through the white dot of Villa Bethany, what do I reach? I reach the intersection of my cone E2 oak enter here, which is down there, cone enter here. I'm on full screen so you don't see it. Right there with the circle for which the center is the fountain and the radius, as you can the center is the tangent and the radius is the construction limits of those stone tower here. But it also registered this point, that line here. That line also registered this point, which is the intersection of Nolan's Cross main arm and the line that goes from La Rampe to set point, which is 1347 Pied du Roi or Pied. It also registered this point, which is the intersection of, again, that blue line, which is 1347 Pied, and my arm. So that's an interesting point again, which was not detected, of course, by Jean-Pierre Garcia, because La Rampe doesn't mean anything to him until he saw this video, maybe. If I now take the tangent of that circle here, which makes the calvaire, I reach my cone D. And those lines are all parallel. Like it's a projection of the unspoken part of the Nolan's Cross onto the garden, the feature that was built during Sauniere's time. Of course, that border, which works on his model to point G, is our cone E. That's how I position my Nolan's Cross. One more, which is not parallel. Not parallel. But if I take this point H, which is the corner of the garden, and the center of this feature, where do I go? Exactly on the set point. Another coincidence. My gosh, that's a lot of coincidence, I think. One more for the road is when I'm gonna just zoom out. When I go from the oak entrance, the oak enter here, which is right here, and I align with the white dot on the glass tower, where do I go? Let me zoom in for you. So if I go from the oak on that orange line through the white dot, I reach cone B, which was not registered so far originally. And I re-intersect again that point, which is getting very busy now, which is, let's zoom out, which is the line from La Rampe to set point, but also the projection of the Calvary, the statue, the white, the yellow dot, everything's falling onto this point here. Interesting, isn't it? Do I have one more? Yes, I had one more. Sorry. I had one more for you. One more coincidence. I'm calling them coincidence because I don't want to shock anybody. Where is it? Oh yeah, I forgot. This one from the set point on top here. So if I go from the set point and I hit cone E and I continue this line, sorry, I need to, again to get out. I reach what? I reach the corner of the cemetery, the limit, that's a wall between the city hall field here and the cemetery where Béranger Saunière was buried right here. Wow, another coincidence. So what I'm going to put side by side now is the two models. So how many lines do I have? Quite a lot, huh? Parallel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parallel lines I can find matching on my cross, plus 3 lines that are not parallel that also work. So that was his model, Jean-Pierre Garcia model on the left, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parallel lines. I got 8 because I relate 2 points he didn't know that exist, because he doesn't know the model of Oak Island. And yeah, I've got this one on top, which reach, this is La Rampe. I got the one in the middle. This goes to cone B, etc., etc. Here, he couldn't detect between H and here. There was a point here of interest to us, which is called the set point. It's not of interest to him. It doesn't relate in Rennes le Chateau. So that's now where we start to be very intrigued, to say the least, is it opens a lot of questions. First question, did Béranger Saunière knew about Oak Island? His era is around early 1900s, 1895, something like that. Oak Island was known about. Did the story cross the ocean? I'm not sure, and I don't think it ended up in the Razes. But maybe some higher society or order know that they both come as a package. Rennes le Chateau and Oak Island, same designer, same design instruments. Maybe he knew, but what's the point of coding this in his own garden? Maybe because Nolan's cross can be reapplied on the Razes region. That's why I asked my friend in that region near Rennes le Chateau to check La Hampe. Maybe La Hampe, there is something there. He won't see, he'll be on the surface and it's an underground feature, but just by curiosity. Second question we can ask ourselves is there a link, therefore? There seems to be a strong link now in a design of whatever secret Saunière wanted to code in his garden and the design of Oak Island. And that's now striking. There's something there. But really, I can't understand at the moment. Would there be a set point in the Rennes le Chateau region, and for what? And what does it do? Would there be an oak enter here? Nah, no, but one design echoes the other, as if the same type of people, through maybe times, use the same geometrical instrument. That's why I'm saying Nolan's cross is an architect's instrument. It's used to then design sites. It is used to design sites. And we think with Michael, we understand how it's been used to design the Oak Island site. We're yet to discover the full understanding on how can you use Nolan's cross on the Rennes le Chateau surrounding at a higher scale, much larger scale, obviously. That was coded somehow, with or without intention, in Saunière, in his domain and his garden. So I invited Jean-Pierre Garcia to watch the video. I haven't had any feedback from him. I had a talk with Michael. I did that video in French like a week ago. People enjoyed it. I hope you did too. And if you got any thoughts, if you think it's the first proofs, elements of proof that Rennes le Chateau is connected to Oak Island, because this has been very thin so far. We know the Shepherd of Arcadia with Admiral Handsome, I think that's his name, who had in Scarborough Hall a copy of Rennes le Chateau, but he was more involved in Oak Island, wasn't he, with the Duc de Rochefoucauld? Would he be a connection point between the two sites also, revealing? But this is, to me, this is incredible, that we managed to retrieve the kind of hidden elements of Nolan's cross by projecting the church and the features he put himself. This was put by Saunière, this was put by Saunière, the church was put there by Saunière. He created that line somehow. The garden, he created those lines. The church was there. So the church is way before Saunière, but he built the garden. So maybe he orientated the garden so that it would match. Or maybe there's nothing related, and this is pure coincidence, but that's a lot of lines for a coincidence, I think. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't hesitate to put comments and to subscribe if you haven't. And I have the pleasure to do another video soon, I hope. Take care. Bye-bye.